Alright, next we're going to talk about the wiring of your CC3200 to the different devices on your RIoTS board. The very important thing to take care of is make sure you are not plugged into anything. Never wire or rewire any device while there's power going through it. The first thing we're going to do is to take your 12 volt DC wall wart and plug it into the hot outlet of your plug. Remember, red is hot. On your wire, you have, coming from your wall wart, you have two wires, one of which is ground, one of which is 12 volts. This will go to your motor driver board and power regulation system. The solid wire, no stripe, is your 12 volt wire, and the striped one is ground. So the left terminal of the three terminals is your 12 volt voltage terminal. So we are going to take the solid black wire from the wall wart and screw it in to that terminal. For this, you will only need a jeweler's flathead screwdriver. Tighten this down, and this is the only 12 volt wire on your entire system. Get it snug, and now we are going to put the common or ground wire from the wall wart to the center of the set of three terminals. We won't screw this in just yet because we need to have a common ground for our 5 volt pin to power our launchpad controller. So the next thing we're going to do is to strip the ends of one of our pigtails. I'm going to use black because black is a common color for ground wires. Be very careful as these jumper wires have very, very, very thin wire in the inside. To make it a little bit stronger, twist them together to kind of solidify it. Now we're going to share a common ground with the ground from our wall wart. Make sure that they both share the ground. Twist your wires together. Once they're thoroughly connected, put both into your common ground. The common ground is the center of the three terminal screw terminal. Next, we are going to strip another jumper wire so that we can have 5 volts power to our controller. Give a gentle tug on everything to make sure it stays in place. So feed your 5 volt line to pin 21 on your launch pad, and on your sensor board it should say 5 volts. Followed by the ground wire, which is pin 22, which is marked ground on your sensor pack. Make sure those are fit nice and snug, and now your launch pad should have power. Next, we are going to connect our motor to our motor terminals. You have 4 motor terminals controlled by 4 pins. So we're going to take the red wire coming out of our motor and put it on the top terminal of our motor terminal. That is out 4. If you need to refer to your wiring diagram, do so frequently. Now your motor is connected to your motor driver board. Next, we actually have to find a way to control the motor. On your launch pad, and thus your booster pack, you have 2 available unused analog outputs. Those are pins 29 and it's pins 31. I'm going to leave both ends of the female jumper wires on and connect them to my motor driver. Green will symbolize our analog signal. We will also need a digital for direction. So green goes from my pin 29 to input 3 of the motor driver. Similarly, we need a digital to control direction. So digital goes to pin 30 and input 4. That takes care of this side of the board. Next, we're going to control our RGB board. On the RGB board, you have a set of pull pins. Remove those and expose all of your header pins. On this, you have a set of 5 and a set of 6. For the set of 5, we need to power that device using 5 volts. We can't use these pins again, but your launch pad conveniently has extra sets of power buses on the bottom next to the buttons. So I'm going to use yellow for power, 5 volts, connect that to my RGB board, and then take it over to the 5-volt pin on my launch pad. Similarly, we need ground, so we're going to go to the nearby ground, from ground to ground. To complete a circuit, you need voltage source and a ground. For communication, for power, anything, you must have a common ground. In our case, we get ground from here, 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 here. They all are connected. To control your RGB board, you have 3 lights inside the RGB: red, green, and blue. There are several ways you can control the intensity of your RGB by using either digital or analog. Since we have only one remaining analog, we're going to use only digital signals for our RGB board. We're going to be using pins 19, 18, and 17, which are located on the outside of the set. So we're first going to use red on pin 19. Remember, there is a ground pin above that. So you have one pin, then red, and take that to your RGB board on the top left of the set of 6. Green will be next, RGB. Green will go to pin 7 or pin 18. Green goes to pin 18. And then the center of the top 6 set. Lastly, blue will go to pin 17 and the right hand top of the set of 6. If you do not want to control your RGB board with this setup, you can remove your RGB board and use the remaining shunts that you took off earlier. Keep these accessible as you may want to use them for other projects or for the RGB board. The final thing we need to wire up is our 3-volt relay. This relay has a VCC in and ground pin, so we also have VCC, which is typically referred to as 3.3 volts, right here on the launch pad. We're going to use the last jumpers, which are male to female, and we're going to give power to our relay with this set of 3. In this video, we're going to have a green ground and a red hot for our 3.3 volts. So make sure on this relay there is a set of jaws that clamp down on the pin. Make sure you get the male pin inside of the jaws. And then tighten it down. Give it a nice tug to make sure it's in place. And we're going to do ground next, green to ground. Make sure you're between the jaws. And tighten it down. Finally, we need to have a signal to our relay. So we're going to use a digital signal off of pin 12. Final pin will be put into the IN input terminal. And this is the final wiring of your RIoTS board. This board is still customizable. If you want, you can get your own tape and put other sensors around the board. Relatively easy setup, but this is what comes with the complete kit.